Today, we're not talking about your 401k or stock portfolios. Nope, we're going way, way back to the very beginning. We're going to break down how a curriculum actually teaches a child what money is, and more importantly, how to think about it. All right, let's get into it. So it really all boils down to this one big question. How do you take a shiny piece of metal and convince a kid that it represents something totally invisible, this idea we call value? This explainer is all about that step-by-step journey, from a concrete object they can hold to an abstract decision that, can change everything. We're going to walk through the 5 key stages of this learning ladder. First, just identifying the money itself. Then, understanding the math behind it. After that, making that huge conceptual leap. Then, making a plan. And finally, putting it all together for one smart purchase.
Right, so where do you even start? Well, you have to start with something real, something you can actually touch. Before you can ever understand a budget, you gotta understand a penny.
The curriculum is smart about this. It doesn't just say, hey, here's a penny. It gives the kid multiple ways to lock it into their brain. It's copper-colored, it's got Abraham Lincoln on it, and there's even this catchy little rhyme to remember it's worth 1 cent. It's a simple trick, but man, is it effective.
And from there, things really pick up speed. They use the exact same pattern for the other coins. Each one becomes its own little file in their brain. What's its size? What's its value? Who's the president on it? This repetition builds a mental framework for how to sort and understand money.
And this is where we see the first kind of big mental jump, moving from metal coins to paper bills. You've got the dollar bill, worth 100 pennies, and the $5 bill, worth 500. This is huge. It introduces the idea that value has nothing to do with the material it's made of, but everything to do with the number printed on it.
Okay, so the kid can now point to a dime and say, dime. What's next? Well, now you gotta teach them how to use them together. This is where just identifying stuff turns into actual calculation. And the way they teach this is pretty clever. It's a method called scaffolding. You don't just dump a pile of change on the table. You start super simple, like counting pennies one by one. Then you build on that with a new skill, like skip counting by fives with nickels. And finally, you combine everything into a more complex problem, like adding different coins to make a quarter. Each step builds right on top of the last one.
And here's the really important part. They don't just leave that math problem on a worksheet. They immediately tie it to something real. Hey, can you buy this juice box? All of a sudden, math isn't some boring exercise. It's a tool you can use to get something you want.
All right, so everything up to this point, it's been about the mechanics of money, right? The nuts and bolts. But this next part, this is the real game changer. This is where we go from how to count money to how to think about money. And boom, here it is. This might be the single most important lesson in all of basic finance, the difference between needs and wants. The idea that not all spending is the same. Needs are the things you absolutely have to have. Wants are the things that are just nice to have. This simple idea is the foundation for every single financial decision you'll make for the rest of your life.
And just like before, they don't just tell you the rule, they make you use it right away. A warm meal, is that a need or a want? It's a really clear question, designed to make sure the concept clicked before they move on. The answer, of course, is a need.
So, now that a kid gets needs versus wants, what's the next layer? Well, it's strategy. It's not enough to know what's important. You need a plan to get it. And that's where saving comes in.
So, how do you teach an abstract idea like saving to a little kid? You make it physical. You break it down into 3 dead simple, actionable steps. 1, get a jar. 2, decide what you're saving for. 3, put money in the jar. That's it. It turns this big, intimidating financial concept into a simple little project.
And I love the way they frame this. Listen to how this is worded. Saving isn't about what you can't have. It's not about deprivation. It's framed as this positive, exciting thing. You're collecting for a goal. It's all about empowerment, not sacrifice.
All right, so this brings us to the grand finale, the final test, if you will. This is where every single thing we've talked about, identifying coins, doing the math, needs versus wants, and saving, it all comes together in one practice shopping trip.
First things first, you set the rules of the game. You don't have all the money in the world. You have exactly $2.60, and that right there is a fundamental lesson in economics. Scarcity. You have limited resources. Okay, so here are your options at the store. But look closely. They're not just items with price tags. They are specifically labeled with the words from the last lesson. The snack is a need. The toy and candy are wants.
This reinforces that critical concept right at the moment you have to make a choice.
The spending plan is laid out like a rule book. Rule number 1, buy the need first. Period. Before you even look at the toys or the candy, you take care of what's essential. This is presented as the first rule of smart spending.
Okay, the need is handled. Now you can look at the wants. But see, this step is tricky. It forces you to combine two different skills. You have to decide which want you desire more, and you have to do the math to make sure you've got enough money left to actually buy it.
And then comes the final step. And this is so important. The last step isn't spend the rest, it's save the rest. This teaches that saving isn't just something that happens by accident if there's money left over. It's a choice. It's an active part of the plan.
And look at the result. Mission accomplished. This wasn't just a shopping trip, it was a perfectly balanced financial event. A need was met, a want was fulfilled, and you even made progress toward a future goal by saving. That's the whole cycle right there in miniature.
So when you step back and look at this whole process, it really makes you wonder, right? Are we just teaching kids how to add up quarters and dimes, or is this actually their very first lesson in how to make a structured, thoughtful decision? A skill that's going to serve them, for their entire lives. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us.